Daily The Brief with Danny Marie, where podcasting, AI, and pop culture meet. From creator news to what's trending today, we're breaking it down the Danny Marie way. Tips, tools, headlines, and industry tea. Weekdays at 12:45 PST. So grab your notebook, coffee, or your tea. It's Daily The Brief with Danny Marie. Yeah!
Thank you. So today we're talking about what I thought World Cup 2026 was going to be versus what I actually saw. We want to start off with some of the tension. So before this all started, a lot of people were unsure what to expect. There were concerns around ICE, visas, ticket prices, safety, politics, FIFA rules, and whether communities would even show up. But after being out in the field, covering watch parties, activations, and street level promotion, the biggest lesson so far is this: the power is in the pivot. Not everything went perfectly. There were still some mishaps. There were still things to critique, but the people and the businesses that had multiple plans were better positioned to adjust. So we're going to get into the conversation in just a moment, but of course, I am your podcast bestie, Danny Marie. I am often here on live stream Monday through Friday, 12:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're on LinkedIn, Substack, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch, and we're talking all things podcasting, AI, and pop culture. But today, we're focused solely on what I thought World Cup 2026 was going to be versus what actually happened, right? What I actually saw. And because we've been boots to the ground, I got my boots on the ground. Then I have to give a special shout out to our sponsors and some of the businesses that we've been working with. Make sure to find additional details in the description. So White Collar is a skill building platform. The White Collar mobile app will match you to one of your vetted skill builders based on location, career, business, interests, and your learning style, and teach you how to monetize a skill set. So more information, again, is available to you in the description. Also, House of Renewal, a peaceful and supportive transitional home for women ready to rebuild, restore, and renew their lives. House of Renewal provides a safe, nurturing environment for women who are transitioning from addiction, trauma, incarceration, or unsafe living situations. So again, their details will be in the chat or the description of this video. Thank you to both of them for sponsoring this live stream. And if you want to also be featured in one of our lives or blogs or podcast episodes, or if you want more visibility out in the field when we're doing street team promo, starting again from the 24th, today, until July 6th. So we'll be out in the field to cover the rest of the FIFA games that are here in Seattle, Washington, Bremerton, Olympia, and Puyallup. Okay. So if you want more information, of course, you can scan this QR code. You can also use the QR code at the very top, or feel free to type it in using this information. All right, I'll give you a moment to take that all in. We want to make sure you have what you need to follow up on, because we don't want you to miss out on this big opportunity to promote your business, your product, your services. All right, and we're taking this all down now. So let's get into today's conversation. The power is in the pivot, honey. I didn't know what to expect. For you that have been following, I've had a podcast called Host City Hustle as of October 2025. We interviewed people who were in business, finance, government contracting. And we've had these conversations on our platform. We were all in suspense. We were all trying to educate ourselves. And now the moment has arrived, finally. And just a few months prior, there were the rumblings, there was the gossip, there was the news, and everything felt a bit out of touch. Everything felt a bit chaotic and up in arms, and we weren't sure of the outcome, right? But that's the first lesson. The power is in the pivot. You cannot prepare for a major event with only one plan. So while my co-host and I had several different plans that were in the works based on the conversations that we had on our platform, what it really came down to was, even though those approaches didn't necessarily pan out the way we expected them to, we were still able to pivot because we were well prepared. And even at last minute notice, he moved into launching a t-shirt brand and sharing that out in the field, while he was in close proximity to the people. And the same thing for me. I made myself available to do street team promotion for businesses who didn't plan. So the reason why we had to pivot is because a lot of our business relied solely on educating people and then trusting that those people would follow suit, right? We had an accelerator. We were doing meetings. We were planning to do a lot of other stuff, working with businesses to best prepare them, educate them, work in collaboration with them. And a lot of people just did not pay attention until last minute notice. And so for those people who did not prepare, they were scurrying, they were not ready for the influx of traffic. So I was able to pivot. And then it came down to street team promotion. He was able to pivot, and he was selling the shirts. Even though we had a merch line already, we had a lot of different t-shirts. People just did not jump on the bandwagon because people are so much in their zone, not necessarily looking at what's right in front of them, or they miss out on these big opportunities. Hence the reason why we started the podcast in the first place. But it all worked out. He created a different t-shirt brand where not t-shirt brand, but a different style of t-shirts where it felt more personal, right? So we were trying to appease people that were all over in all of the host cities. And what really worked was him using the flags of the teams that were in Seattle, putting the original Seattle host city image on the t-shirt along with the different flags, and then touching the people and meeting the people where they were at. Similarly, I made it my business to be in all of the fanfare and all of the street activations and then promote other businesses, right? Businesses that made sense, that aligned with what was happening in Seattle, what was happening in Federal Way. So the main point here in lesson 1 is the power of the pivot. You can never be fully prepared, and you should always have a backup plan. Ticket prices created uncertainty. Immigration and visa conversations created uncertainty. Political conversations created uncertainty. Local activations look different from city to city. And some promotional ideas worked, and some could get people stopped or removed. But preparation, it gives you room to pivot. It gives you room to be nimble. Panic does not. So with more sports events and major activations coming, small businesses need to prepare in advance, not the week of, not the day before, and not once the crowd is already here. Can't stress that enough. The whole reason, again, why we started the podcast, Host City Hustle, is because we believe oftentimes small business owners, solopreneurs, creativepreneurs are left out of these larger conversations that are happening only in corporate spaces. And when there's big sports events or major opportunities that come to your city, you are not able to leverage them because you are not adequately prepared. Lesson 2, people galvanize around what they care about. Even if people are not even hardcore soccer fans, people are still out there cheering the teams on, feeling like they're missing out if they're not a part. The FOMO is real, right? The fear of missing out. I am not a soccer fan, but better believe every time I'm out there, I am cheering. Whenever everybody else is clapping, I'm clapping. I'm figuring out what team are we going for if it's not the USA? What other team are we supporting? How can we, be a part of this big moment, right? The community energy, families that are showing up, adults that are showing up, people wanting to be a part of something bigger, a part of history. How soccer became the reason, but community became the real gathering point. So people may not care about the sport, which is what I've heard a lot of people say, but they care about seizing the moment. And this is very important for creators and businesses because the opportunity is not always the event itself. Some people missed out on the opportunity because they said, I don't like soccer. I've literally heard people say this to me. Well, how do I leverage for something I don't care about? It's not what you care about. It's what is drawing the crowd. What is bringing the crowd in, meaning more opportunities for the influx in your business, the higher demand. Now, am I saying that you should chase everything? No. But here's how you can insert yourself where it still feels aligned. Just how my co-host was promoting his t-shirts. It still aligns with the business, but also branded to where the outreach is effective, right? Or if you have, let's say if you are a makeup artist, you could be out there doing free makeup touch-ups, right? Put up your chair, have your little table, free touch-ups, right? As you're out and about and you're trying to take pictures. But people thought it's only soccer opportunities. It's only about people who care about soccer. Or if you have food, maybe you can't offer food right there on the spot, but you can go out and you can pass out flyers, or maybe you can pass out a coupon or something, right? Or I'm working with a brand, their thing is golf, right? They're not into soccer, they're promoting golf. These people probably care about being fit, they probably care about sports, they probably care about recreation and entertainment, all to which relate back to the group that's promoting golf. So again, don't talk yourself out of a blessing simply because you don't see the connection. Something we also did even before the World Cup began is we created an AI planner, and you could go to the website hostcityhustle.com/AI-planner, and you can say, hey, this is what my business does. How can I leverage the FIFA moment? Many people didn't even take that step, right? So just retraining your mind, your brain to think differently. That it's not the sport, it's the moment. All right? Sometimes the opportunity is the emotion, the traffic, the attention, and the community that surrounds the event. Lesson 3, brand boundaries matter. And this is a major key, because if FIFA didn't teach me personally anything else, it taught me that you have to be very clear about your boundaries. FIFA is not allowing any promotion of any kind to seep through the cracks, because they have people who have paid millions of dollars to be featured as sponsors. So I've saw content reels about people who had to cover up the logo on their Nikes or their shirt. I spoke with a young lady down there, and I was asking her, since she works at Lumenfield, she was a volunteer. No, she works for Lumenfield doing other events, not a volunteer. And I asked her, because she was giving me some tea about what's happening inside of the arena. And she said, no, I cannot be interviewed because I don't want to run the risk of losing my job. So even how strong of a mandate FIFA has, to where people feel the threat, even if they're, talking about FIFA in the wrongest way possible, they could lose their job, right? And it's because they're getting sponsorship dollars from everywhere else. Why is it fair for them to allow another brand to come through if they did not pay? And where I thought at first it was a bit ridiculous, I get it. And I think that we as small business owners and content creators should be the same way with our brand. You should not just let everybody approach you and play with you all free willy-nilly. People should put respect on your brand, right? And you should have better boundaries and think about FIFA as the example. No, you're not going to be able to promote your arena, because we want everything, all of it, to come back to FIFA. We don't want the brand messaging, the brand positioning to be misconstrued, right? To say like, well, because we saw Lumenfield on the stadium, that's what we associate with this. No, it's crystal clear. This is FIFA. I'll tell you a bit more about those shirts that my co-host put up in just a moment. But brand boundaries matter. No outside logos being shown, stadium names being covered, brand restrictions around apparel and sponsorship visibility. Why paid sponsors expect protection? Because they put a lot of money, right, to sponsor this event. If I'm charging Coca-Cola $3 million and Pepsi's coming in here with and Pepsi's coming in here and hasn't paid me a single thing, there's competition, there's brand confusion, and a lack of regulation. It's not personal, it's business. Because then FIFA doesn't want to be responsible and answer to Coca-Cola if they let Pepsi just walk in free willy-nilly. And then they're going to have to owe some people some money, right? Same thing with us. We should just think about our businesses in the same way. Stop letting people play on your top. If someone paid premium money for placement, you cannot let everybody else sneak into the spotlight for free. Small businesses need to learn from that. Your business needs boundaries too. You need to know what you allow, what you do not allow, and what people can attach to your name, and what requires payment. Lesson 4, every city had a different vibe. Location matters, right? I was overhearing or eavesdropping on a conversation in social audio, and you can tell a lot of the people that were on the stage were uneducated and weren't doing their research, because they said the city that benefited the most is probably New York. And I think that's because we associate New York with everything else. Mind you, this was also around the time that the Knicks won, right? After 50 plus years, they finally won the championship game and against the Spurs, we all know. And that was a big moment in history. So I think that fanfare with the Knicks versus Spurs game and everything happening with FIFA, a lot of people thought that New York was the only city that was monetizing, when in actuality, Seattle, and yes, I'm from Tacoma, let me be clear, but most people associate Washington State with Seattle, right? So Seattle, in terms of events, in terms of activations, in terms of attendance, in terms of celebrities who have shouted us out in mainstream media, attaching us to the big events, in terms of literally, we have been the loudest. The Lumen Field is known, and that's why they coined us the 12th man for like the Seahawks. But Lumen Field, just the way that the arena was built, the decibels with the audience, the uproar, the loudness in the arena, it breaks records. So location matters. We've had several fan zones all across Washington State, from Bellingham to Olympia. And we put a lot of money into reinvesting in I think the sounder station, transportation. We put up new state-of-the-art technology into our porta potties. Shaquille O'Neal just got done DJing like on First Ave. Sierra and Russell Wilson were out here. Mr. Beast was out here. Chad Ochocinco, just to name a few. It's been incredible to see the outpouring of support and people who've been catching the fanfare, the FIFA wave, the FIFA fever, as I've coined it. It's been incredible to watch, and I have not seen anything like it in any other place when it comes to the attention, the community support, the fanfare, and anywhere else. So, but also I've had a chance to go to not each, there's still a few on my list to attend, but I've been to a few of the watch party zones, right? And some of them aren't even official watch party zones. Some of them already had something going on and they turned what they were already doing into an activation to align with FIFA. So you can go to my social media and you can see me reporting back in real time on some of the activations. I've been to Bremerton. Bremerton is a Navy town, so it's very small, intimate, calm, easier to observe. Literally, the activation was about 5 minutes walking from the entry point to the exit, if you're not stopping at any of the vendors. So yeah, Bremerton, smaller, more intimate, calm, and easier to navigate. Federal Way felt more family-oriented, more community-centered. It's been my favorite so far because I brought my boys along with me to Federal Way and to Seattle. Seattle, if you're bringing kids with you, you're traveling with your kids, parking is way, way, way out of the way. Or for me, I've been on the public transportation. I've done that, and then I've tried to drive. I prefer public transportation. I prefer to drive, but driving is not an option, right, when it's really busy, because you can get stuck in traffic and it's just not fun. Public transportation is easier, but it's harder on your nervous system. Transporting your kids, keeping their attention, keeping them fed, keeping them happy, walking, 15 plus minutes to get to your destination. And if you're like me, you're coming with equipment, right? So Federal Way felt easier for parking, felt easier for my nervous system. There's actually a playground that was adjacent. And like I said, it just felt easier to navigate, felt better on my nerves. Seattle has more adult energy. Literally, we shared a table with a person or a group, and they were smoking marijuana. Now, I'm not judging. If you guys have been following my June reset journey, I used to be an avid smoker, right? But I've stopped since the start of June 2026. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying you're going to be in there with people who are in their drunken stupor, people who are using recreational drugs, bigger crowds, angrier people, people who really could care less about your opinions, your thoughts, and what you have to say, even though the vibes were great for the most part. Like, we took a picture in front of the Seattle sign and everybody was so sweet, right? Just to be observant of the space, get in, get your picture. But then, of course, there were these people and we asked them to move and they were so rude. So you're going to get some of that energy out there in Seattle, more nightlife, fan zone type of energy. So when it comes to point 4 that I'm making, the location does matter. And every city has a different vibe, not just here in Washington, but even in all of the other host cities. This is important for street team, creators, vendors, small businesses. The same flyer, same message, or same setup may not work everywhere. So when I was doing some street team promo, I had to think about that. Like, I'm doing stuff for a golfing group, a housing group or business, a mentor to mentee matching app. It's going to be different based on the location, right? And there were other people that I'm doing promotion for. A yacht company, another lady who's doing bingo cards. So it's just different depending on where you're at. Lesson 5, street team promotion works better with incentives. People need a reason to stop. So people are moving, people's attention is elsewhere, people are distracted, people are there for the experience, not necessarily to hear a pitch. So incentivizing people helps create engagement. Think the simpler, the better. Do not just ask people to support, give them a reason to engage. That could be a giveaway, a QR code, freebies, discounts, photo moments, sample challenges, or something that makes the interaction feel worth their time. I can't tell you how many stops we made, especially when I took my children, and they walked away with bags full of free stuff. Those were the ones that grabbed our attention and made us stay for a while, stay and play. Lesson 6, do not accidentally look like an unauthorized FIFA promotion. There is a difference between being near the event and appearing like you are officially connected to the event. So I told you I was going to mention my co-host. Yes, he was down there. He had the Seattle t-shirt that he was promoting. The police walked right up to him. Mind you, he was next to a young lady who was doing spray paint art. Incredible work. But they talked to her for all of a second and talked to him for about 5 minutes because he looked more like an authorized FIFA promoter. And FIFA said, you cannot be here promoting your brand, pretending to be one of us. People with birds and snakes were able to operate because it did not look like soccer or a FIFA promotion. I was out there doing street team promotion for other businesses. My co-host had a shirt with FIFA related language, football imagery, or football, Seattle host city, and country flags. The police said, no, you need to pack up. This is not okay, and you need to go move. Now, they weren't all rude. They said that he could go to Pike Place. So this is a caution for all of you. If you are promoting anything remotely close to FIFA garb, you will not be permitted. Your best bet is to hang out over by the Pike Place Market. Now, the good thing is Pike Place has extended their hours, so you'll have more foot traffic likely. That's one of our landmarks anyways, but with the extended hours, that works in your favor. So again, if your promotion looks too close to FIFA, the World Cup, or official soccer branding, you may get shut down. I wouldn't even take the risk, especially because if you come fully equipped with a table, a lot of product, it's not fun moving locations, right? At least you want to sit and be able to be stationary for a few hours and catch your breath. Now, the bigger business lesson: prepare for the work, expect the worst, pivot fast. This is not just about FIFA. This is about how businesses should prepare for any major event. Stay nimble. Any major sports event, any festival, any conference, citywide activations, tourism moments, cultural events. The businesses that win are not always the biggest. They're the ones who prepare early, read the room, respect the rules, and pivot quickly. All right, so like I said, through June 24th through July 6th, I am still doing street promotion. If you are interested, I'm going to re-add this information so you have it. Feel free to connect with us using only the information available. All right, so we also want to give a special shout out again to our sponsors, White Collar and House of Renewal. And you can find their details and information in the chat or the description, depending where you are watching this episode. I want to leave you with this. Host City Hustle has been on this journey since October of 2025. The World Cup is not teaching us just about soccer, right? Which is why we've had so many different people on our podcast to teach business lessons in general, but how you can take advantage of this viral moment. The World Cup is teaching us about preparation, access, boundaries, community, visibility, and what it takes to show up when the world is watching. The power is in the pivot, but the pivot only works when you prepared in the first place. So that said, catch us on another live here, 12:45 p.m. PST. I am Danny Marie, your podcast bestie, logging out.
Daily the Brief with Danny Marie. Where podcasting, AI, and pop culture meet. From creator news to what's trending today. We're breaking it down the Danny Marie way. Tips, tools, headlines, and industry tea. Weekdays at 12:45 PST. So grab your notebook, coffee, or your tea. It's Daily the Brief with Danny Marie.